Guys, we might get it started if that's all right. I know people have got games to get to. Thank you very much for coming out tonight. Basically, the reason for this meeting, Toowoomba Hockey Committee meets every fortnight, and we get correspondence from the clubs. We also get cards register. We just felt that this season's been going really well. It's been a positive season so far. However, in the last couple of weeks, there's been a few more bit of correspondence coming in from the clubs, and the amount of cards received has increased significantly. So we thought we would be proactive, get on the front foot, get everyone in, and just set some clear expectations from Toowoomba Hockey about what we're looking for from players, coaches, and umpires leading into the finals, just to make sure we're all on the same page, and hopefully get on the front foot and finish the season in a really good and positive note. So as we said, the three focus areas will be coaching perspective, playing perspective, and what we're going to be focusing on with our umpiring group. Basically, so we can have the best possible product for our A1 and for our other grades as well. But obviously, A1 is the Friday night stuff. It's being live streamed, and that's what we're promoting and putting out there to the public. And we want to ensure that we're promoting a positive brand of hockey and a positive brand of sport for people to look at leading into finals. So from a coaching area, the three main directives from the THC that we'd really like the coaches to focus on is not engaging with umpires during the match. I know there's a huge temptation for that. All right, but when the game's being played, they've got a ball travelling at 100 k's an hour. They've got to try and focus on, and turning around and engaging and discussing with a coach isn't going to help their ability to make a correct decision. During half-time and quarter time, all right, please avoid coaches stepping out on the field to engage with an umpire. Okay, you can seek an interpretation after the game when it's finished. When the game's on, for me, your job as a coach is to focus on areas that you can control, all right, rather than focusing on decisions or interpretations that are out of your control. Okay, so from a coaching perspective, make the most of your 2 minutes with your team, focusing on things that you can control, rather than getting caught up in an interpretation that ultimately has a very, very, very small impact or influence on that game moving forward. From a playing point of view, okay, this is clear, and a lot of this stuff, if you watch the Olympics, will be consistent with how they went about it in the Olympics. Okay, so umpires accepted and were welcoming players seeking clarification during stoppages. So in the Olympics, it's when they did the third umpire, they were able to have a conversation, or when there's a penalty corner during that 45-second period, or even walking off the field at a quarter time, players were able to have a casual conversation with an umpire to seek clarification. All right, but only in stoppages. So hockey, the beauty of hockey is it's a fast-moving game, and it's end-to-end and it flows. So now with the free hit or auto pass or self-play rule, the game moves so quickly, we don't have time for umpires to engage in conversations when a free hit's being given, all right, because the other team can take off and play. We don't want them getting caught up in having conversations and then the umpire's out of position to make a crucial decision in a circle. Okay, when there is a conversation occurring with an umpire though, we really want it to be one player at a time from each team discussing with an umpire. If we get 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 people crowding around an umpire, okay, A, it's not a good look, and B, it's overwhelming for the umpire. So if we can get one person at a time from each team, if there is an opportunity to discuss something with an umpire, get them in. Whereas if there's a crowd and the umpire asks players to step away and they do not, they're entitled to give them a card if they're refusing to stop crowding the umpire. Okay, and obviously umpires are like players. There will be occasions where there will be mistakes made. And an umpire being ridiculed about something, if they walk off at quarter time and you go, oh, you know what, that was not a stick check, he hit my stick, blah, 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 blah. Well, I'm sure that same player's missed a trap or made a misguided pass throughout the thing, and there's no one ridiculing them about it. So there will be times where an umpire will make a mistake, and we just ask that our players respect the umpires, respect the officials, coaches, technical officials as well, to ensure we finish the season on a positive note. From an umpiring perspective, where we're filming this and we're endeavouring to send this to our panel of A-grade umpires just to ensure that there's a consistent messaging going out to them. But the three main focus areas from an umpiring perspective are player management focus, okay, so ensuring that they communicate clearly and concisely with the players on the field, okay, about decisions and interpretations, whether it's signalling, whether it's saying it was a stick check, a foot, or whatever, to ensure that the communication is clear. But also being really proactive, and I'll phrase it with simmering situations. So if there's a bit of tension on the field and they can feel that tension escalating, and you may have seen it in the Olympics, where the umpires actually went back to the old school, stopping the game, calling the captains in, saying, guys, there's too much of this, or we need to stop this. If it continues to happen, you'll be sitting down, and then we move forward. So we're encouraging the umpires to go back to that. It hasn't necessarily been something that's been happening for a period of time now. They've been encouraging the game to flow. However, to ensure that the umpires are being incredibly clear, precise and concise with what they're asking of the players, we're happy for them to stop the game if they're unhappy with a particular area and they feel there's tension simmering, address the issue, and if the players then continue to still, breach or foul or mouth off, then they've been warned, both teams have been warned, and the umpires will then start issuing cards for that particular. Of course, if there's a serious foul or a deliberate foul prior to a warning from an umpire, they're still well within their right to make a card. But when we're talking about situations where there's tension, back chat from either team, or continuation of people being 4 metres away rather than 5, they were within the right to address an issue with both teams. Guys, I've also got Boydie and Eb here who are on our umpires, A-grade umpire panel that are here as well. If there is anything from a club perspective that you guys want to seek clarification on in terms of expectations from players, coaches, and obviously if I can't answer it, I'm sure these guys might be able to. If not, we'll endeavour to get that information to you guys. But is there anything from your club that you want to clarify? Anything you're happy or unhappy with that you'd like to see more of or less of from a club perspective?
Matt, just I guess more from a technical officer perspective, is this going to be shared amongst the local community? Because it's not this applies to everybody.
Yeah, so hence why we're filming it. So we'll throw this up on our YouTube and we'll encourage people to distribute that throughout their team. The main focus, particularly for a number of these interpretations, are for the A-grade competition. However, a lot of other things in terms of our umpiring for A2 as well. Player management's really important in that. We've seen an escalation in cards in that division as well, to ensure that our umpires are aware, the directive that we'd like them to take to ensure they have control of the game. Barcy.
Do the umpires have headsets?
They do, and they're often encouraged to use them. I know some umpires haven't, but we will endeavour to encourage the umpires to use them.
What I'm saying is not enough communication between the two umpires, and that's an easy way for it to.
Absolutely.
And from us, we are encouraging everyone. We're telling them, we're putting them in there, telling people use them, A1 all the way down to juniors and everything to use them. I know some people are uncomfortable with them, but it's just something we just got to get them used to. So it's a big push. We are pushing everyone to use them. So.
Yeah, Toowoomba Hockey's invested a significant amount of money to ensure that we have reasonable resources available, so we'd really like them to be used, and then definitely encourage everyone to do so.
So for your clarification, if during stop of play the captain approaches the umpire for clarification, that's all good?
Absolutely, yeah, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a captain. We encourage it to be. But if it's a penalty corner and the captain's a centre forward up at one circle, it's just not practical for the centre forward to run a length of the field to seek clarification. So I think common sense has to prevail, and you may have seen that in the Olympics when there was a particular Thomas Briels from Belgium who's a striker. A lot of time it's when they conceded a penalty corner, the umpire would accept one defender coming at a time to seek clarification over an interpretation or challenge a question. Obviously, we don't have the ability to challenge that in Toowoomba just yet, but that's common sense prevailing, I think.
Yeah. Other one is in terms of an absolute howler, for example, goal being allowed after the whistle. on a game that's recorded, is there any forecast for some sort of playback or something in like those A-grade games? This new scoreboard, is that going to happen? Or
Well, at
is
the
it
moment,
scoreboard-
well, unfortunately this year, our scoreboard is not going to be arriving on time for the season, so unfortunately
Yeah,
that's...
right. In the future.
There won't be.
no.
Yeah.
The games are videoed, and I believe the THC has sent a memo to the judiciary so that they are aware if they need to refer a decision, they can use some of the footage that we provide, but there's no guarantee that that will fully capture the particular incident. But if from a judiciary matter, we've sent a memo out to the judiciary committee so they're aware that they can review that footage. But we also code the games, so some of the clubs may have already utilised it, but we've done some video analysis sessions with clubs. And moving forward, I'd really like to get our umpiring panel regularly looking at A-grade decisions and scenarios and situations to review themselves as well. Just like players are improving, same with the umpires. And we're very lucky to have the technology available, and it's definitely something that we'd like to encourage everyone to utilise. No?
Oh, I was going to say that, I guess, for me, from an admin perspective, it was disappointing that we've had to get to this point. Also, the focus and conversation around here at the moment seems to be just on umpires, so I think we need to go back and have a look at how we conduct ourselves, the approaches to umpires. Yes, agree, yes, do that, but I think for our players, it's how you approach them. So we don't want to be sprinting at Ebony, for example, and getting in her face. There's a way we've got to do it. I guess for me, I'm a simple person. This is not the NRL. This is not a $1 million business. We've got to think about why we're out here playing. So howlers, yes, we get that. I think we're going to suck it up. But like I said, I guess I'm just disappointed that we've had to come here and basically be told to behave ourselves and do the right thing. But we know this.
I think most of the people in this spot, from my observations, nearly everyone in this room goes about the game the right way. It's about us leading our clubs, our teams, our peers to go about it the right way and setting that example and that culture and pulling someone up. Hey, that's not acceptable. Having that adult conversation with people to ensure that we have a sustainable competition, because the reality of the fact is we are getting less and less people prepared to umpire A1 hockey. And we've got plenty of players, but the fact is we're running out, or we're getting less and less people prepared to umpire. And without umpires and without quality umpires, we won't have a quality product.
I wanted to add on to that as well. It'd be nice to also see a lot more coaches take responsibility for their players and their actions on the field. If you notice an umpire is reprimanding someone on the field for something, you as the coach should also be aware of what they have been doing wrong, and also be either reprimanding them or picking it up early enough that, hey, this guy's getting really fired up in the field. I need to maybe make a sub with him for 2 minutes and give him a rest instead of us having to step in and force a rest by someone. It's a big thing, I think, as well as us across all the grades as coaches as well need to recognise, as well as our player management of our teams, which would be nice a bit more to see as well, if that makes sense.
Is there a chance to broaden the pool of umpires? Like at the moment, I know from a men's point of view, it's relied on probably 6 to 8 guys. Sometimes 2 from the same club. Pastai regularly have 2, Red Lions regularly have 2, sometimes we have 2. And that's not a dig at clubs, it's just, do we have, if your game's first, those 2 are the next 2, and you have to provide an umpire.
We're trying, but people don't want to.
No.
I'm having to umpire tonight and we don't play. So we're asking people to umpire out and they don't want to.
But does that have to come back from a club point of view then?
Yeah, there's definitely going to be conversations and strategies for 2022 and beyond about ways for us to engage with more umpires and make it more attractive. And I think it's going to be a holistic approach in terms of the culture that we create through our players and coaches and the club level, but also our development opportunities to, make sure our junior umpires are competent and confident to step up into the senior divisions. We probably have a lot of junior umpires that get to a certain level and for one reason or another don't step up into that A1 and A2 division regularly. Ebony's probably a good example of a junior that has progressed into that phase. But it's definitely something we're focusing on for the future. For right here, right now, obviously we've only got 1 or 2 more rounds and then finals, so I think the pool will be as is, and it's just about finishing the season on a positive note. Bordy, while you were talking before, you made a really valid point to me the other day on the phone about how to communicate to an umpire. If you're comfortable sharing that with
Yeah, I think the big thing is, and this just needs to be communicated to everyone, is we're fine with being asked a question and giving an answer, like we said, in stoppages and things like that. But when we're getting yelled at or screamed at about something from someone 50 metres away, or or you're right in front of us, it's not easy for us to communicate back when that's happening and there's other players. So the big thing is we're happy with communication if it's positive and in a good manner towards us. If it's negative towards us in that sort of way as an umpire, it's always going to put you as the player on the back foot, because we're not going to look at it nice. And it's not nice to receive that either. So I think that's the big thing as well, is just how we communicate back towards umpires has got to be in a good manner as well. Talk to someone like you want to be talked back to is a big thing, I think.
Is that memo I did a few years ago on the THC still filed there somewhere? Do you know?
I personally don't.
Chris has probably got a file for it.
I'm sure that all the records are kept.
It stipulated everything about what we're doing now, and we got to a point there a few years ago where if it was back chat, it was just a yellow card, there was no green.
Well, we want to try and be proactive, and ultimately the umpires want to try and not send people off. We want to try and manage the game as such that the culture's there. We've communicated to the players, to the coaches, and the umpires have been encouraged to manage the game so that we avoid escalating scenarios or situations where we see multiple yellow cards and people spending time off the
Oh, it
field.
was within discretion, wasn't it? Or
Yes.
right on.
Yeah.
It would be great if technical officials were added to that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Well, guys, look, thanks for your time. We'll endeavour to share this with all the members. We videoed it. Hopefully it turns out all right. All the best for your games tonight. I would love to be watching, but got to do the right thing. And hopefully see you guys next week.
Thanks, Matt.